Welcome to Matters of the Heart, where you give us the matter of your heart, and we'll get to the heart of the matter. Now, here are your hosts, Kim Renee and Jay Diamond. Hello, and welcome again to Matters of the Heart. I'm your host, M. Renee, and my co-host,
Jay Diamond. Yeah.
How are you?
Just fine. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, enjoying this beautiful day.
Oh yeah, it's real nice, real breezy outside.
Yeah, but we can't complain. I mean, every new day that we see is beautiful because we've never seen it before.
Yeah, well,
no matter the weather. Yeah.
Even with the storm.
Even with the storm, it's still a beautiful day.
A beautiful stormy day.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that one.
Right. Well, thank you once again for tuning in to Matters of the Heart. Now, today's show, of course, they get deeper and deeper, but it is another matter of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing that I want, the listeners to understand and to know is that you can send in your matter of the heart, and we will get to the heart of the matter for you. So if there's something that you want us to discuss that you haven't gotten answers to, or maybe you want another answer, be sure to send that to us. And you can submit that to yourmattersoftheheart@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, we may host your topic one day on the show. So we would love to hear from you and get your feedback, your response, your input, and just let us know, what you have going on.
Exactly.
So today's Matter of the Heart topic is father in the home versus no father in the home.
Oh my.
And what is the difference, if any? Does that stagnate you? Does it cause you to turn out a certain way? Does it stop you from being successful?
That's interesting. That's an interesting subject because sometimes I look at myself and I look at the fact that my father was never in the home at all. I was basically, not to divulge information, but I was basically an outside child. They consider us an outside child if you're a child born outside of the family itself. So I was an outside child from my dad's side, and he never was around. He never was actually dad. In fact, I never really knew him. I never knew him. So I think that everybody takes things differently. Everybody holds stuff in differently or receives it differently. So on my end, even though my dad wasn't there, I was kind of drawn to him. I loved him from a distance, loved him from afar, and still today, still love him. Even though he's gone, I still love him. And I don't think that on my part, now I've seen it on other parts, I don't think on my part that it affected me from succeeding, because when you grow up and you become a man, you tend to throw away the childish thoughts of somebody didn't do this or somebody wasn't there, or different things like that. Now I know that other people have a hard time of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to hold it for the rest of their life that my dad wasn't there, so they use that as a crutch, use it as an excuse to do drugs, use it as an excuse not to succeed or not to do anything in life. So that's an interesting conversation that you're having about fathers, because I would say it's an ongoing conversation that I've heard people have about whether the influence of the father is important for the child or the influence of the mother is important for the child. And for some, yes, and for some, I would say no. There's always two sides to the coin. There's always two sides to the story. So, that's an interesting subject. Very interesting.
Indeed. So you mentioned, that it did not stop you from being successful, but what type of effect did it have on you? Like, what type of impact did it have on your life? Did it stop you from being able to be a father to your kids? Did it stop you from knowing how to, be this parent, in a sense of saying, okay, I know how to be a dad, I know how to be a father, knowing that you didn't have that example in front of you growing up?
Well, there goes another piece of the pie. There goes another piece. I think that as far as raising children, it was now that was a hindrance. That was not a hindrance. That was an experience that I had to learn instead of being taught. I had to learn on my own, because as they say, children don't come with instructions, but the older people are to train the younger people how to be parents, how to be good fathers. And you wind up not knowing exactly what to do, and sometimes when you do find out what to do, it's too late. It's too late, and then you wind up with somebody that's almost as bad as you are, or worse than you are as a father. Now, like I said, it didn't stop from being successful in life, but it stops you from being successful as a family man, as a father, as a I would say, as a important part of a child's life. Because, and I know with boys, it's even different, because once a boy becomes close to a man, another man can't tell him nothing. Another man, you say, well, where were you when I was a child, when I needed you? Now I'm a man, you gonna come, now you want to be daddy? Mm-hmm. No, that's not gonna work. So I think it's important that every child has a man in his life, especially a man that's of influence, a man that has some type of knowledge in it that he can pass on. Mm-hmm. Now, just to say your dad is a gangster, or dad is a hoodlum, your dad is a weed head, your dad is a criminal, and your dad training you, well, you're going to wind up being, 9 times out of 10 just like your dad.
True. Now, you said two things. You said, the first thing you said was, it becomes too late. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that it's never too late to start learning, and it's never too late to start implementing and becoming that person that you need to be. And then you have the other instance where you said, once the child is older, then now that you want to come in and start giving them some advice and knowledge or whatever, that they may reject it because of the fact that you were not in their life when they were younger, or when they were coming up, or so to say, when they needed you, right? Mm-hmm. But then we have to take that a step further and look at the circumstances surrounding that, because all too often we have where, the mother and the father of the child aren't together, and the mother sometimes out of spite will not let the father, be a part of that child's life. They won't let the child go, spend time with the dad. And then so now you create this divide, so that when the child gets older, the child doesn't understand what happened between you and the mother. All they know is you weren't there. Mm-hmm. And so you never have the opportunity to express, your love for them. You never have the opportunity to tell them, look, I wanted to be there for you, but circumstances didn't allow that. In order to clean the slate and to be able to, now they don't have the animosity against you as saying, well, you were the dad that was never there for me, or, you want to come now and try to, well, yes, now I'm trying to be there because you are of age to understand, look, circumstances back then didn't allow me to be in your life, but now I'm willing to be in your life, and I'm here for you, when you need me. I'm here to be a guide to you. If you need information, I'm here to give that to you, to impart some knowledge into you, if you want to say it that way. But like I said, I think it happens all too often where children don't understand and it's not explained to them. And then you have some people will say, well, the child doesn't need to know what happened between, both parents or whatever. But I do think at some point, the child needs to understand what happened. They need to know what happened so that they can free themselves from being bitter. They can free themselves from being angry. And then they don't now in turn have the story to say, well, my dad wasn't there for me when I was growing up, and I didn't know my dad, and all the negative things. Mm-hmm. But they have the chance to change the story and say, no, my dad wasn't there for me when I was growing up because of circumstances, but that just allowed me to be a better person, allowed me to become a better person because of what I didn't have, because of what I lacked. Mm-hmm. It allowed me to become who I needed to become for my kids, because we don't want the cycle to continue.
Right.
And so at some point, they say you have to break the curse.
Right.
So it has to start somewhere. But I think the most important thing is that both parties, be it a son or a daughter, I'll say for me, like I grew up in the household with both of my parents. My dad was there. My dad was very strict. But there was a point also where my dad was not in the household. Mm-hmm. And, we'll say things like, well, it didn't affect me. And, I was able to move on. I'm still able to be a successful, woman, even though my dad wasn't there during the time that I really needed my dad to be there. We can say it didn't affect us, but then when we look back over some of the choices we made in life, we can see that, okay, maybe if dad was there, I wouldn't have made these types of choices. But still in all, it allowed me to go through that process to become the person that I am today. So without that, you know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we can use things as crutches instead of stepping stones to get us to where we need to be.
Right. Well, and putting another spin on the conversation, because my story is my dad was never there. He was never in the house. I never grew up in the house with my dad at all. I grew up with nothing but me and my mom, and then my stepdad. So my dad wasn't there. On your end, your dad was there. Then your dad left. Now, I would ask, what type of effect does it have on a child growing up if the dad was there and then he left? Is it worse on a child that's dad that was there and then all of a sudden the dad left? Or is it worse on a child that dad was never there? Because you've got those two factors you have to look at. And also you have to look at the influence. Now, you were saying something about the mother doesn't want the child to see the dad or the dad to see the child. The influence of the mother sometimes impacts the child's thinking when they grow up, because the child can be distorted in the mind of the mother. Your dad is no good, your dad is rotten, your dad is this, da. And when they grow up, that's the only picture they have of their dad. Not knowing that dad left mom because mom cheated on dad, or dad left mom because mom and dad was fighting all the time, or dad had a problem, he was an alcoholic, or whatever the case may be, dad had to leave or dad left. But it should never be put on the child as the reason. It should always be, the parents should always say, if the dad's out of the house, well, dad is gone because of da, but dad's still your dad. You still have to respect him. You still have to. I've seen kids cuss their dads out and slam the phone in dad face and things like that. So you've got some factors that are pertinent to the growing up of a child and the mindset of a child when they become an adult. And a lot of times, I'll put this in there, a lot of times, it's not about spending time with the child or anything. It's always about the money. It's about the money. If you don't have no money, you can't see that they hold a child hostage for $1.
For $1. That most of the time you're not spending on the child anyway.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to go there.
And now we're getting down to the heart of the matter, because too many times you see where these situations take place. Where the mom is calling, asking for more money and child support, and if you're not able to provide the amount that she's asking for, okay, well, you can't see them this week, you can't come get them this weekend until you get the money. And so my question would be, what is more important? Being able to have quality time with that child, being able to be a part of the child's life, to be able to instruct them, to guide them, to nurture them, or to just be able to throw a few dollars at them. Hey, go get your pair of shoes, go get you some clothes from the mall, or give it to your mama so she can go get her nails done and her hair fixed. Because most of the time, like I said, the money doesn't go on the child anyway.
Right.
If we really look at it and we want to be honest about it. So, and this is my thing to the ladies. Don't allow your feelings and your hurt and your anger towards that person to taint your child, to get in the way of your child growing up to be someone great, because you have blocked that. You blocked that access point for them. Let's move past and let's grow up. I think at some point we all should grow up and become women, strong women, that regardless of if the man is not able to provide you with child support at the moment, that we're not so ready to go down there and take him to court and say, well, I want this amount of money per month, and he's doing all he can, to at least give you something. Something beats nothing. Now, if he's just a deadbeat, just don't want to do nothing, really don't want to be a part of the child's life, then that's a different story. You do what you have to do. In either situation, you do what you have to do. But we can't allow our feelings to control, what goes on and how a child needs that other party in their life.
Yeah, because it doesn't benefit the child any. If you're basically, like you said, if you're holding hostage for $1, it doesn't benefit the child. And it doesn't benefit the child if you're always talking bad about the dad, always badgering. And also, it doesn't benefit the child if the dad is just downright doesn't want to be bothered with him. That benefits him none at all. So you like I said again, you've got factors involved that are combination of things. It's just so many combination of things that can go wrong in the midst of a child's life and in the midst of the child growing up to be a productive individual in the world. And many kids, I'll say this, many kids grow to be successful without the parent being there, without the dad being there. Now, that's I would say the abnorm. Because it seems like the normal is the kid grows up to be hostile, to be mad, upset, to be angry with dad, upset with mom, to be unruly, non-disciplined because dad wasn't there and mother just couldn't handle it. So you wind up with kids that go out in the streets, and the streets train them. The streets embrace them. The people in the streets become their family and become their trainers, become their teachers. So you've got to look at the fact that if a one parent house, if the mother would take the time to tell the child about dad, tell the child something good, no matter what, even if it's bad, something going on bad, don't ever tell it to the child. Don't paint that picture for the child, because the child takes what you give them and turn it into a movie. They'll turn it into what their scenario of what it is.
Right.
So you've got to be mindful of what you're saying to the child, how you're portraying the parent to the child, and always be positive in everything you're doing and everything you're saying. Now, I would say this. There are some parents, now I'm going another route here. There's some single home parents that will spoil the child because the dad isn't there. So they're trying their best to give them everything they can and do everything they can. But the child is still noticing you're just giving this because you're trying to pacify me. Where's my dad?
Right.
This isn't taking the place of dad. You're giving me a PlayStation. You're giving me Xbox. You're giving me all the games. You're giving me the latest Jordans. You're giving me the latest iPhone. But that's not, where is dad?
Right. And even on that note, I would say, if dad is not there and you feel like the baby's dad is not the person who should be the dad, or the person that would be the one to, instruct the child on what to do and what not to do, if he's not a good influence, then find somebody. If you have moved on in life, then the person that you're with should be willing to accept your child and be a father to that child.
Come on, man.
Not to say that he's the child's father, but be the father figure. Be that role model that the child needs to, to see, so that that child now knows he has an ideal of what it is to grow up and become a man. He has an ideal of what it is to take care of a family, how to treat a woman. Because a mother cannot be a father to a child. Now, we have many single moms out there that are raising sons, but it does not take the fact away that that child needs some type of male figure in their life in order to help them grow up to become who it is they need to be. Exactly. It could be an uncle, a cousin or a friend, or just somebody as a male figure that will encourage that child, that will nurture that child, and tell them, hey, that's not the way you do that. You don't treat a woman like this, or you don't yell at women, and you don't hit women, and whatever the case may be. They need to have examples.
Right.
That way, they don't turn to the streets, and they're not looking for Julio on the corner to show them some love, because Julio ain't really showing them no love. Julio just trying to put some money in your pocket so you can keep doing what you're doing, and I'm going to keep shelling you out some money. That's not love, but they take that as love because now this person is taking time and this person is investing in them, so they think, until, the tables turn, and then we learn what really is. So I think it's important that even though the person that is that child's father may not be suitable to be in that child's life, that we find somebody that is.
Right.
If you have moved on, if you married someone else, if you have a boyfriend, then you need to make sure that, he loves your child. He won't love them as much as you love them, but at least he loves them enough to take and spend time with them and be able to instill and impart some things into that child's life.
Right. Because children need instructions. I, as you were talking, what came to mind was that sometimes children want to be corrected. They do things to get correction. Mm-hmm. They will do things because that's their attention that they're getting. That's that bit of attention they want. They'll do something bad so you can come and pay attention to me. So before they get to the point of always doing something bad, pay attention to them. Show them some attention. Give them a little attention. And, it's a sad thing that we have these homes that have missing fathers. And like I said, as I look back on my life, I look back on the sad part of it. Mm-hmm. Because the sad part of it is that I never knew, and I will never know, how it is to have a father in the house. I'll never be able to experience that, but I can experience being the father in the house. So the experience now is me giving the experience to someone else instead of me getting the experience. I'll never be able to go back on that and gather that part of life.
All right.
But at least I can be the one to give that, where my children can grow up and say, well, man, because we always grow up and say, well, my parents. Mm-hmm. So they can grow up and say, well, my parents were together and my mom and dad was stuck together, and my mom and dad taught me and trained me. So, because it's important that a child has some daddy used to say statements.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Or some mama used to say statements. A lot of times I hear cats say, well, the old folks used to say, now they're old. But they holler about the old folks used to say. No, you the old folks now.
Right.
So we get to the point where we take what has been given and we pass it on. Now, there's a lot of people that are passing on negative thoughts, negative conversation, negative statements. But we have to combat that with positive all the time, with a good, I would say, a good show of how to. A good how to. You got to have a how to more, how to be. And how to be is not something that you tell somebody. How to is what you show them.
Right.
Because a lot of times children don't do what they do what you say, they do what they see you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going to the Bible said, Jesus said, I do as my Father does.
Right.
I do as I see my Father do. So that was an important statement right there. I do what my Father does. So if the Father's not there, how can I do what Father did?
All right.
I would stop and say, maybe that's why you have a lot of homosexual men, because they're doing what Mother did.
Wow.
That's another conversation.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing what Mother did. So we have to be mindful of the upbringing of a child. We have to be mindful of what we are giving this child to see.
Mm-hmm.
Not what they're hearing, we're giving them to see, because they're mimicking what they see.
That's true.
Whatever they see, you know, a child looks at TV and gets his character from a TV character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to be gangsters because they're looking at gangsters. They're looking at thugs. Back in the days, Scarface was the movie. All the kids wanted to be Scarface. Everybody wanted to be Scarface. And like, that's a movie. That's all it is.
Right. Just a movie.
Just a movie.
Just a movie.
So, you know.
Now, I know, I jumped on the moms, but now I need to jump on the dads so we can get down to the heart of the matter again. That for those who did not have a father in their home growing up, you know the feeling that you had when you longed for your father.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, man, when I grow up, I'll never leave my kids, or I would never allow this to happen, and whatever. And I think that happens at some point in their life growing up, knowing that their father wasn't there, that this clicks on in their mind that I would never leave my kids, without a father or whatever. So, but the things that you long for, what you would like to have done. You would like to have gone to the park and thrown a ball. You would like to have done whatever. Go, whatever. Ride a bike or skate, bowling, something. So when you have that, and then you come into manhood and you become a father, then now you be the best father that you can be to your child, because this is something that you didn't have, and you don't want your child to walk around feeling that same way, that emptiness that you felt when you were growing up. Mm. So that way, then we break the cycle of, because then I think at some point you are without excuse to say, well, my father wasn't there for me, so I don't know how to be a father. Well, did you take the time to learn? Did you take the time to go and ask someone? Did you seek help? Look, I'm a father now. My father wasn't in my life, so I really don't know how to be a father, but I'm willing to get help. I'm willing to seek advice. I'm willing to, do whatever it takes so that I can be the best father I can be.
On a closing note,
mm-hmm.
I think that the fathers out here who see a child that doesn't have a father should grab hold and become that absent father. Not to say that he's sleeping with the mother, but he's becoming a part, like a big brother or whatever, in the life of a child that doesn't have a father. Because even that can impact, that can make all the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. I was looking at a documentary on TV, and they had some elephants, some young elephants. They call them renegade elephants because there was no elder elephant around. So they were running through the village, tearing up stuff. And the minute they put an adult elephant in their midst, they're all straightened up. Mm. So sometimes you have to have, and I'm not talking about just a wishy-washy adult. Right. I'm talking about a real man, a real adult, some authority. You got everybody that needs authority in their life. That's just like if there was no police, the world would go crazy. Now they say sometimes the police are crazy, but if they had no police at all, the world would be crazy. There would be mayhem. So, right. Everybody needs that in their life, and I think that children need to have somebody that can mentor them, that can guide them, and can tell them when they're right from wrong. Because a lot of times we go through life and we do things wrong because we don't know, but many somebody tells us that gives us another piece of information. Well, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do it that way. Now, you're always going to do things the way you want to do it, but if somebody tell you something, at least you had an option of, don't go that route. Don't do it that way. And that's what's missing. Missing is instructions for a child to be able to feed off of. Be able to say, well, you know what? Mr. Such and Such told me such and such, and I'm going to take his advice.
Right.
I'm going to take his advice.
Right. And even if you think the child is not listening, they are.
Yeah.
And at the right moment, that advice is going to come back to them, and they're going to be able to apply that to whatever it is they're dealing with and come out successful. And so, just getting back to the heart of the matter today, that I really don't believe that having a father in the home versus not having a father in the home makes you more successful or less successful in life. It's all about what you want, what you're willing to work hard for, and how hard are you willing to work to get what it is that you want.
The majority of the time, that's basically what it is. That's what it should always be. At some point in life, we need to learn how to let go of the things that happened to us as a child and move into adulthood. Say, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I did childish things. But when I became an adult, I threw all that to the side. We got to throw, especially if you now have a family of your own. Don't hold your dad for, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Don't hold your dad for what he didn't do. Hold yourself accountable for what you are not doing or what you need to do. Dad didn't do it this way, but I'm going to do it this way. Or if Dad did it that way and it was good, now I'm going to do it the way Dad did because that was good.
Right.
So it's keeping back to the positive, keeping back to the right side of the road, because sometimes we get so off track and we'll sit down too long, stewing in the mess. Just sitting down there, Daddy didn't do that. People get drunk and that's all they talk about. My daddy didn't, my mama didn't, man. They just did me wrong. But you sitting there doing yourself wrong. And you're doing your children wrong.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at the end of the day, it all comes back to you. Be accountable for you, for your actions, and be without excuse.
That's it.
That's it. Be without excuse.
Wow.
So, this has been today's Matter of the Heart. Father versus no father. Does it stop you from being successful? Does it stop you from being the best father that you can be? And I think the answer to that question is no.
Emphatically.
Without a doubt, no, it does not. Thank you for joining us on today's Matter of the Heart. We would love to hear from you. If you have a matter of the heart that you would like for us to discuss, send it to yourmattersoftheheart@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we value your input. Be sure to follow us on Spreaker so that you will be notified when a new podcast is uploaded. Until next time, as always, be blessed.